Every year, thousands of people move to Dallas chasing new opportunities, a lower cost of living, and that Texas lifestyle that you've probably heard about. But there's really one big mistake that a lot of people don't realize that they're making until it's too late. So today, I'm going to break down the biggest mistakes that people make when they're moving to Dallas. And we're also going to cover the little things that cause some of the biggest regrets, like picking the wrong suburb, buying in the wrong communities, or simply just misjudging commute times. And stick around because the biggest mistake, it's the one that most people never really even see coming. Now, the number one mistake when moving to Dallas, not understanding how property taxes work on new construction homes. So it's like a money bomb, really, that's just waiting to go off. But here's what happens. When you close on a new house in Dallas, new construction, your first year property taxes usually only get charged on the land, not the house itself. So at closing, you're looking at your statement thinking, okay, well, only $2,000 a year in property taxes. Really, that's not too bad. But here's what most agents won't make very clear is that in year two, Dallas Central Appraisal District is going to come in, or Collin County Appraisal District is going to come in and assess the new value of your home with the structure, basically the home on top of it. And you can see your property taxes jump from 300% to 500% overnight. And of course, that means that you could maybe see $2,000 or $3,000 on your closing statement, but then by the next year, you're paying $13,000 or $14,000 or $15,000 in property taxes. So we're going to get into another hidden surprise with school zones later that can hit your home value just as hard, but this tax issue is probably the most expensive shock of all. But this is what I'm seeing right now in the market, and Dallas County has some of the highest property taxes anywhere. We're talking about 1.74%, so property taxes here have jumped almost 33% since 2019. And yes, Texas did just bump up the homestead exemption to $100,000 recently, but that barely really helps whenever you're looking at these huge increases on new construction. Now, if you want to avoid this trap, what we always do is we always pull tax bills for similar homes that have been completed recently within the last year and have been reassessed. That way you can see what they're actually paying, not what the builder's telling you that you'll pay or what's assessed on the land. So don't trust initially what's on the closing statement as far as that's going to be a final number going forward. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Levi. I've sold over 500 homes in the Dallas area and just in the last couple of years. We're the #1 relocation team in all of Dallas, Texas. And if you like these types of videos, go ahead and subscribe so you can be the first to learn about the current market in Dallas. Now, while that property tax bomb is probably the biggest money shock, there's another daily headache that people really underestimate whenever they're moving here. And that is underestimating the Dallas traffic, which can be crazy at times, and it just seems to be getting a little bit worse, even though they're widening roads all over the place. But Dallas is now the 17th most jammed up city in the country. The average driver here loses about 38 hours a year to traffic, which is about a full work week of you just sitting in your car. And if you're not listening to audiobooks, well, you're not learning anything either. Now, you're also burning about $658 worth of gas every year just sitting in traffic. So what could just be like a 15-minute drive can easily turn into, 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. And this is actually a big reason why so many people end up selling too quickly after they move here, which is what we'll talk about in just a minute, because they really can't handle the daily commute that they didn't really test properly in the first place. So here's what's crazy about Dallas is your drive time depends completely on where you live. So if you lived in 75247 area, you're looking at almost an hour each way. But if you move to 75205 and then you're within a 20-minute drive of downtown. So that's a difference of over an hour round trip every single day. And here's what happens all the time. I mean, people visit Dallas on a weekend, drive around. Traffic is usually pretty good on the weekends, and they think, okay, this isn't so bad, or they misjudge that commute. So they may say, yeah, living in Prosper or Frisco, not really a big deal. But then once they move here and they start driving in the middle of rush hour, they find out that a 30-minute drive could turn into 45 to 60 minutes. So what you should always do is actually test drive during rush hour. So if you come in for the weekend, I would recommend staying through Monday and driving around Monday during rush hour. So if you find a neighborhood that you like, go ahead and give it a test drive. And you can't always trust what's on Google Maps, of course, because you can't account for fender benders or lane changes or construction shutting down a lane temporarily. But while we're on the subject of things taking way too long, let's jump into another huge mistake that people make with Dallas real estate. And this mistake could cost you tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm seeing it happen more and more, especially with people people moving from out of state. So the Dallas market has completely changed over the past year or two, and now 66% of homes are selling below asking price, and we've got more homes for sale than we've had in the last 20 years. And this isn't that crazy seller's market that you saw just a couple of years ago, but I keep talking with people who think that they can buy a house, hold it for a year or two, and then sell it for some big profit. I mean, that's just not the case. I mean, here's the problem, is that selling costs in Dallas run about 6 to 10% of your home's value between agent fees, closing costs, and any other expenses that might come up. And I'll show you later how the smart buyers are really handling today's interest rates instead of just sitting on the sidelines. But you've got to have some patience in this market. So let's say on a $500,000 home, that's easily $30,000 to $50,000 just to sell. So based on the data that we're seeing, home values here just aren't climbing fast enough right now to cover the selling cost if you're only in the home for about a year or two. So you need at least 3 to 5 years, and that's still cutting it close in most of the Dallas neighborhoods to break even or possibly take advantage of some appreciation. So a lot of people coming in from California or New York, expect the kind of the same crazy price jumps they saw back home, but our market doesn't really work that way, especially right now. And if you want to know the one area that's actually breaking this rule, it's Richardson, but it's my dark horse pick for 2025, which nobody's really talking about. But this is an area that is really underrated, and the food scene is incredible, and the tech companies are moving in. And I'm telling really all of my investor clients to look at Richardson before everyone else catches on and the prices shoot up there. But even in a great area like Richardson, I mean, you need to watch out for the next mistake we're about to cover. So if you've got kids, this one could completely mess up your family's routine. And that's going to be the school boundaries in Dallas, and the suburbs get redrawn all the time because we're growing so fast, and it catches many home buyers completely off guard. So look at what just happened in Capella ISD recently. They rezoned nearly 300 students earlier this year because of school changes. So some kids got moved to Wilson Elementary, others to Austin Elementary. I mean, they shifted programs around, affecting 168 more students on top of that. So the school zones around here have changed like crazy over the last 3 years, and it's happening especially up in the North Dallas area. Frisco, Plano, Prosper, Salina, they're all constantly redrawing boundaries as new schools open and neighborhoods fill up. So when school zones change, I mean, that hits home values pretty hard. And I've seen houses drop 5 to 10% overnight just because they got rezoned into a different school. And with districts doing budget reviews, we're going to see even more rezoning coming. But also just think about what that does for your kids, especially in your routines, depending on commute and plus their friends and everything like that. So how can you protect yourself on that? Well, you could look for homes that are well within a school zone, not on the edges. So properties on the boundaries are way more likely to get rezoned than those in middle areas. Or right now, if you're in Prosper, you might be in a Salina school district or a Frisco school district. So as soon as they open, actually they're opening their 4th high school in Prosper right now, those people actually on those borders might end up going there and getting zoned out of their Frisco or Salina school district. But you can always call the district directly before making an offer, ask them specifically about any planned rezoning. I mean, they usually know what's coming, but won't volunteer that information unless you ask. So if you're moving here from out of state, I mean, this next mistake could leave you living out of suitcases for a couple of months. So moving to Dallas from another state is way more complicated than people really think. So, and I've seen it happen many times where families don't really plan their move properly. And Dallas-Fort Worth is huge, over 9,000 square miles. That's bigger than some states. So with construction happening everywhere and crazy highway system, planning a move here really does take some work. So May through September is absolute crazy for moving companies here. They book up months in advance, and prices can jump 20 to 30%. And if you're competing with everybody else trying to get settled before school starts, then that could also be a problem. So what happens a lot is people end up in timing problems. I mean, they sell their old place, but they haven't really closed on the new one yet. So they're stuck in this housing purgatory, sometimes for months. So, then you've got HOA rules in planned communities that nobody really talks about. Some only let you move in on weekdays. Others don't allow big moving trucks in there based on access. And some have specific hours when moving is allowed. So if you don't look that up in advance, you could be facing delays or even fines from the HOA. And the HOA surprises are just like the unexpected utility bills we'll talk about here in just a minute, but nobody warns you about them until you're already committed and the bills start showing up. So here's what works best when you start looking at Dallas homes 3 to 4 months before you need to move. Fly in for a long weekend, tour the neighborhoods, get pre-approved with the local lender, then list your current home and try to schedule your move during the off season if you can. I mean, October through April is really much better. You'll get better rates and more flexibility with movers. The next mistake might surprise you though, especially if you're watching a bunch of real estate videos and waiting for the perfect time to buy. Now, I just had this conversation the other day with someone moving here from California after watching our videos, and he's been waiting for rates to drop. So whenever I told him that's actually could be costing him, he was really surprised. And so I just asked him, like, why are you waiting? He said, well, I think rates are going to be better soon. I think the market might crash. But I said, okay, but what happens when rates drop? You think you're the only one waiting? I mean, what happens to all of the other people that are sitting on the sidelines? And right now, you as a buyer have more power than you've had in years. There's more inventory. Sellers are willing to deal and negotiate. They're offering money, incentives, closing costs, rate buy downs. They'll pretty much do almost anything you ask, even builders. But when mortgage rates drop, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be jumping back into the market. That's going to drive prices back up even more. So we'll be right back in the same situation where we see multiple offers and overbidding on homes, just like we saw just 2 short years ago. So let's look at the math and say you wait a year for rates to drop 1% on a $500,000 home with 20% down. I mean, your payment at today's 6.5% rate is about $2,500 monthly. If rates drop to 5.5% next year, but prices jump 5% from competition, that same house now costs $525,000 and your payment's around $2,300 or $2,400. So you're only saving like $150 maybe, and you waited a whole nother year, which you missed out on that appreciation in that home as well. So here's what the smart buyers are really doing, which is getting a 2-1 buy down or even a 3-2-1 buy down. That's where we buy down your interest rate for the first couple of years. So right now, if we're at 6.5, and I'm seeing it go between 6.5 to 6.8. But if you buy down your interest rate by 2 points, which the seller or the builder is willing to do, that puts you at a 4.5 to 4.8 interest rate for the first year. Then you go to 5 point, let's just say 5.5 for the second year. Then you're going to go back to 6.5 for the third year and beyond. But now in the next couple of years, if you think rates are going to come down, which I do believe that. And by the way, if you're not following the news that much, I mean, this could be Trump's next biggest fight. And he just recently talked about bringing rates down 3 points. Imagine that. Remember what happened in 2022 when we had 3% interest rates, give or take a little bit above or a little bit below? Yes, we saw homes getting overbid by $50,000 to $100,000 here in the Dallas market. Everybody came into the market. So you got to ask yourself, would I rather get a great deal on a house right now, negotiate a fair price, but also concessions and rate buy downs and get closing costs? I mean, you can pretty much ask for all of that right now, and sellers are willing to do that. And go ahead and get a 4.5% interest rate. I mean, if Trump does bring these rates down 3 points and we go to 3.5 or 4%, I doubt 3.5, but let's say they just gets them down to 4%. We're going to see a ton of activity. There's so many clients. I know us personally, we have a ton of clients that are not taking our advice and they are sitting on the sideline waiting for rates to come down or the market to crash, or actually even for their homes to sell. That's the other issue. If you are selling a home right now, that could be holding you up. But we do have programs for that as well. Our lender has an amazing program that will allow you to buy your next house while your other house has not sold yet. So that's something you should reach out to us about. But let's talk about a few other mistakes that could cost you thousands of dollars when you're moving to Dallas. Now, these might seem a little bit smaller, but they'll have a huge impact on whether you love or hate living in Dallas. So first, choosing the wrong suburb based on internet hype instead of really what fits your lifestyle. But here's what I've noticed about the happiest Dallas homeowners. I mean, they put their daily routine first. And so, like, where do you work? Where will your kids go to school? What do you like doing on the weekends? I mean, your daily life should drive where you choose to live, not what's trending on social media. And so that would be mistake number one, is like choosing an area that you think looks cool online, or that you know seems to have a little bit of a hype right now, or maybe you compromise a couple of those things and you're like, all right, let me do that. And I've seen that happen with a few other people, that they wanted to live in a cool spot, but they really just didn't account for their daily lifestyle, and then they wanted to sell 12 to 18 months later, and that's just not a good situation regardless of where you're at to break even, or you're probably going to lose money in that situation. Now, the second mistake is not budgeting for all of the costs beyond mortgage and taxes. I mean, summers here are pretty hot. Last year we had over 47 days, over 100 degrees. It's been 100 degrees the last couple of days, so your AC runs pretty much nonstop during the summer. So you got to check your utility bills. If you have sprinklers and you want to keep your yard green, that costs a lot in water. And then you have HOAs, so depending on the community that you're in, that could be a couple of $100, upwards of maybe $1,000 per month, depending on where you're at. I mean, my community is about $500 every quarter, so I think that's very reasonable, and so I'm not too concerned about that. But then also you got to account for insurance, because we do get hail from time to time and other weather issues. So you want to make sure you have reasonable deductibles for your cars and your homes. And then, of course, visiting Dallas only during perfect weather. I mean, the spring and fall here are amazing. I mean, it's my favorite time during the year, perfect weather. So if you visit during those times, you might just think it's, rainbows and unicorns all of the time. But whenever July hits, I mean, you're talking about 100, 105 degree weather. I mean, it is hot. So, and it'll zap your energy, and you will want to be inside, usually at least during the middle of the day. All right, so those are 7 of the biggest mistakes that I see people make whenever they're moving to the Dallas area, especially when they don't work with us and we're able to warn them about what is to come. So Dallas is an amazing place. I've lived here for 25 years and I still love it. So it's an amazing city, and you're going to love the people and the food and the culture. But if you're thinking about making that move to Dallas, let us know. You can reach out. All of our information is below or on the screen. I'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Dallas. And before you go, be sure to check out my other video here where I break down the 6 property types you should absolutely avoid buying in Dallas. And until next time, well, we hope to show you around town.